So this is the last part of our book, Things the Eye Can't See. And if you remember, Libby's a bit worried about her brother Joe, who's been meeting this slightly older chap in a cafe, and she's a bit worried that he might be getting into what she nearly got caught into herself. Chapter 36. Libs! I'm so relieved to hear Mad's voice. Come on, this way. Forward, Samson, I tell him, and we hurry a little way along the pavement and round a corner. Well, I ask. Well, I wasn't sure at first, she tells me. There was Joe and this older guy who was being really friendly to him, and then a couple of others turned up, a girl too, and then I heard one of them say, "Have you got the stuff?" Was it drugs? I gasped. What happened? He pulled out a package, a padded envelope. But he didn't even try to hide it. He just put it in the middle of the table, and Joe started opening it. Mad suddenly sounded like she was chuckling. And then he started dishing out some reptile magazines. They were definitely talking about snakes, the long slithery kind. Do you know what? It all looks legit, Libs. Oh, phew. I am so relieved. Come on, let's go home. On the way, I tell her what the girl said. Just ignore them, she advises. Those people are stupid. You might be blind, but they will never see the past the end of their ignorant noses. It's about an hour after I'm home, and I'm doing homework in my room when Mads texts me. Call me. I call her. What's up? I didn't know whether to tell you this, says Mads, but you're going to find out sooner or later. Find out what? I demand. Is it about Kyle? No, it's about you, she says. Those girls you heard, they took a photo of you looking at your phone with Samson too. It's gone viral on Instagram. People are saying hideous things, Libby. They're saying that you're a hoax. You shouldn't have a guide dog if you can see. It's all a benefit fraud. I feel myself start to shake. Why don't people realise there are different kinds of visual impairment and all different kinds of levels of it too? Why do they think that you have to be blind and that's just one thing, seeing nothing? Well, I never understood it either, to be honest, before I met you, Mads admits. Shall I reply? Should I explain? I think you should wait to see what your mum and dad think. But I don't want to wait to talk to them about it. I scroll through Instagram and I am shocked. The comments read aloud by the automated voice sound so brutal I just want to cry. I start a really angry reply and then I change it to a simple explanation of my condition and the things I can and I cannot see and how Samson helps. I hear the door open and shut. Mum's back. Oh, I had a meeting that finished early, so I thought I'd come home, she says. Everything all right? Tears slide down my face as I tell her about the photo on Instagram and the comments. Mum is horrified and really angry too. How dare they, she exclaims. Let me have a look. While she takes out her phone, I nervously check Instagram again, and I'm surprised and touched to listen to a stream of supportive replies to my post. Some from other visually impaired people and others from people who were upset by the earlier comments. I'm actually quite relieved. I can't believe some people, Mum exclaims. I think you handled that really well. Look at all those people coming out in support. Good on you, girl. Well, I still feel too distracted to do any homework. Instead, I browse back through the flower photos on my computer, zooming in so I can see the colours and shapes. And I start to feel calmer. I come to the pictures I can't wait to place for a moment. This was after Harwell House. Hang on a minute, then I realised these photos came from the path by the station. It was the day we found Zach's body, when I was trying to distract myself while we were waiting for the police. Some of the pictures I like a lot, although I've also sometimes clicked accidentally and I've got pictures of the grass and the path, but not, thank goodness, I haven't got any of the body. Now, there's a speck of white on one of the pictures that makes me zoom in. It's not a petal, It's got a square corner and it looks a little bit like a piece of paper. I zoom in further and I think there's writing, but I can't quite make it out. I don't know if it's blurred anyway, or maybe it's just my eyes. It's a scrap of paper. But what if it's significant? Is that an M on it? What if that was something of Marty's? Maybe that was evidence that he was there. It's not likely, I know. Even if it was Marty's, it wouldn't be proof that he killed Zach. I want to email the photo to Carl to have a look, but first I want to know what it says. Joe, I call. Come here, Imo. What? He says, and I turn to see his shape in the doorway. Are you holding a reptile? I ask, getting a whiff of something. It's only Drake. Drake is the leopard gecko. Can you put him back? I don't want him loose in here, and I want you to look at something. Can you tell me what this says? Drake's cool, don't worry. I won't let go of him, says Joe. Show me. I point to the screen where I've blown up the image of the scrap of paper, as big as it'll go. What does it say? Joe comes closer. It just looks like a receipt, he tells me. It's a bit blurry. But can you read it? I ask eagerly. Hold, Draco-Mo, I'll have a closer look. Well, there's definitely numbers and letters. The creature is lowered into my hands and its claws dig slightly, as if it doesn't trust me not to drop it. Looks like it's a Walker's Crisp and Coke, 1 can and the prices. Oh, it also says Sainsbury's local at the top, and there's a date, June 16th. Is that important? I shrug. Well, I thought it might be, but that doesn't sound very significant, does it? Even though it's the right date. I thought that was an M, but I think I was looking at it upside down. It's a W, isn't it? Here, take Drake. I don't think he likes me. Oh, Joe exclaims as I feel Drake lifted from my hand. Oh, what? I can hear Joe laughing. Just don't move. Why? I get a whiff of something foul. Don't tell me. He hasn't, has he? Yeah. Sorry, it's done a poo. Sorry, Libs. It's just on your top. I'll go and get a tissue. Oh, Joe, that is gross. I don't phone Kyle until I'm in clean clothes and I've scrubbed my hands. I found something in a photo, I tell him. It's the one I took when I found Zach's body. I thought it might be evidence, but it turns out it's just a Sainsbury's receipt. I don't think that's going to be much use. Shame, says Carl. Maybe you should let the police have it anyway, just in case. But won't they laugh at me, I say. Well, why should they? I still feel reluctant, but it could be a good excuse to call. I doubt they'll tell me anything, but it's worth a try. Can you email it to us? DC Fenn asks, once I explain. We'll certainly have a good look at it. I'm sure we don't have that receipt on our file, so it may well have blown away after you photographed it. You were very sensible to tell us. Often people think evidence they have is of no use, but it could turn out to be a missing clue. Would you let me know? If I'm allowed to, yes, she says. How's the inquiry going? I ask hopefully. I know Kyle's innocent. He's stressed out by all this. Have you found Marty? I'm sorry, look, there's not much I can divulge at the moment, says the policewoman. We're still looking for Marty, but we are pursuing other lines of inquiry too. And if there's any information you can give us about the whereabouts of Charlie Smithson, please do let us know. I flinch. You don't think Charlie did it? We would just like to talk to him, that's all. Like Marty, he seems to have disappeared. We're doing our very best to get to the bottom of all of this, I do promise. I work for the rest of the afternoon, but I keep stopping to think about everything. I've been so wrapped up with worrying about Kyle, I haven't been thinking so much about Charlie. I wonder where he is right now, and I wonder where Marty is too. I wish the police could find him. When my phone rings, I jolt in the chair and I grab it quickly. It's only Mads, so I tell her about the receipt I saw in the photograph. Oh, shame it wasn't something that would prove Marty was there, she agrees. I'm scared they think Charlie did it, I say. Mads, you don't think it could have been Charlie, do you? Well, I can't see it hasn't crossed my mind, Libs, Mads admits. The following morning, I'm getting dressed for school with the radio on, and that is when I hear that a boy has been charged with the murder of Zack Defoe. "The boy is under 18 and cannot be named," the reporter announces. Panic rises in my throat. I fling my arms around Sampson and I cling to him so tight he squeezes out of my grip and moves away. Well, under 18, that means it can't be Marty. I call Kyle. I'm holding my breath as the phone rings, but there's no answer. Oh no, it can't be Carl. It can't. But there is no reply. I call Mads. "Did you hear?" I demand. "They've charged someone under 18. I'm really worried about Kyle. He's not answering the phone." "Oh, Libs, could you call the police? Would they tell you?" "I could try. I don't know." There's a beep on my line. Someone else is trying to get through. "I have to go," I tell Mads. "Libby?" Oh, I am so relieved to hear Carl's voice. I almost throw my head back and it hits the wall, which was closer than I thought. Ow! "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I just bumped my head," I tell him, rubbing the spot, but my head is used to it. "Did you hear they've charged someone with the murder?" "Yeah, but I don't know who. I'm off the hook, and to be honest, that's all I care about. They believe me now, and they know I wasn't involved." "Do you think it's Charlie?" I ask. "I don't want to think so," says Carl, "but he did run off fast, didn't he?" "But why would he kill Zack?" I ask. "Do you think Marty might have paid him to do it?" "I'm sure he wouldn't have done it unless he was forced to," said Carl. "Maybe it was another empty promise. Perhaps Charlie thought it was the only way out." "But murder? I don't want to believe it." "Maybe Charlie and Zack just had beef and it all went wrong," said Kyle. "Zack might have had the knife on him. Maybe he pulled it on Charlie and Charlie tried to get it off him and ended up stabbing him. But even if Charlie did it, it's Marty who got them into the mess, and it's Marty who should be going down for this." "Can you be forced to stab someone?" I ask. "Well, people can end up doing things they'd never imagine when they feel under threat. That's why no one should carry knives, isn't it?" "If only we'd found Charlie sooner," I groan. "If he did it, he might be in prison for the rest of his life. He must have felt he had no option." "Still no excuse, though," says Carl. "Can we find out who the police have charged?" I ask. "I think I'm going to call and ask." "Oh, well, let me know what they say," Carl says. DC Fenn knows exactly why I'm calling, and she's not giving much away. "I can tell you this," she says. "That receipt in your photo turned out to be rather significant after all." I'm surprised. "Really? How?" "Well, you gave us the photo of that receipt, and we checked the CCTV footage at Sainsbury's Local. There was a boy buying Coke and crisps only 10 minutes before Zack Defoe was stabbed, and the time matches on the receipt." "Who was it?" I ask nervously. I hold my breath. "Charlie?" "No," she says. "The person we've charged was already a suspect. We'd questioned him. He's denied being in the area at all, but your dropped receipt appeared to prove that he was there. And we now have further evidence. We've found a partial fingerprint on the knife." Oh, I am so full of relief that it wasn't Charlie. I barely hear what she's saying. But if it's not Carl or Charlie, then who is it? Marty's too old. And if it's someone from that house, it can't be Reuben. So that only leaves... Jez, I ask. "It was Jez, wasn't it?" I hear her sigh. "I can neither confirm nor deny that is the name of the person involved." "Jez," I repeat. But she won't tell me anything more. "I bet Marty sent Jez to get Zack back, and Zack wouldn't come," says Carl when I call to share the news. "Marty has got a lot to answer for. They think he might have left the country now." "He should be in prison," I say furiously. "It's not right." "Well, I hope they put him away one day," says Carl. "So do I tell him. I'm just glad they know that you're innocent, and that Charlie is innocent too." "Me too," says Carl. I wait for him to say something else, but he doesn't. It's Friday the next day. I'm at school coming out of French when I hear Kyle's voice. "Libby, I wondered if you wanted to go for a meal," he says. "To celebrate." Even though I was hoping we'd stay friends, this does take me by surprise. Is he actually asking me out? Well, I'd like to, I say, aware that my long pause might be interpreted the wrong way. I just don't know if I'd be allowed to. My parents aren't convinced that you didn't drag me into everything. Maybe if they meet you, but they still might not agree. Well, I'm happy to meet them, says Carl, but I'll understand if they say no. After school, I'm in the kitchen pouring myself a glass of juice, and I'm thinking about Kyle when Joe comes in. She's not well, he tells me. I'm suddenly wondering if there was another reason why Mum came home early the other day. Is she ill? Did she tell you? I ask. She's really acting weird. I think something's wrong, says Joe. But she can't exactly tell me, can she? Why not? Libby, I'm being serious here. So am I. Well, that's nice of you, he says, his voice softening. Will you hold her for a second? I'm going to phone the vet. Scaly skin brushes my hand and I lurch backwards. Careful, he says. Here, Tallulah, you're okay. Libby'll hold you. What the heck, Joe? I find myself with a bearded dragon in my hands. I thought you were talking about Mum being ill. Oh, Mum's not ill, is she? Never mind, I say. Next thing I hear, he's on the phone to the vet. They said to bring her in, he tells me. I'm just going to text Dad to see when he'll be home. I hope he can take me. But Joe... Great. He's left me holding Tallulah. She's so still in my hands, I think she may be trying to play dead. Some reptiles do that when they feel threatened. I've learned that from Joe, though I'm not sure about bearded dragons. And then I panic. She's not dead, is she? I gently cradle her against my chest so I can use my right hand to run across her rough skin until I can feel her heart beating. Oh, at least I think it's her heart and not my pulse. And then she moves a little bit. Oh, phew, she's definitely alive. Joe's back quickly to my relief. Dad's going to come straight home. I told him it was urgent. He says, here, I'll take her now. I'm relieved to hand her back, to be honest. Joe doesn't speak, but I can hear the stress in his fast breaths. Tallulah was his first reptile, and even though I can't imagine feeling attached to a scaly creature like this, I know that she is important to Joe. I'm sure she'll be okay, I tell him. I know she's special to you. Your ambulance awaits, says Dad, rushing through the front door. Where's the patient? No stretcher needed, is there? She's here, says Joe. We're ready. I'm just going to put her in the carrier. No sooner have Joe and Dad gone than I hear the key in the door. Did you forget something, I ask. What? Oh, it's Mum's voice now. I've got to prepare my talk for next week. I thought I might as well do it in the comfort of my own home. Come here and give me a hug. We have a lovely hug, and I explain about Tallulah. Gosh, I know how much Joe loves that creature, says Mum. I do hope she's going to be okay. I don't often get Mum to myself, so I take a deep breath and I make the most of it. Mum, I know you were right in what you said to me, and when I went out with Kyle and I didn't tell you, and I have learnt my lesson, I promise, and I'd never do anything like that again. Well, I'm glad to hear that, says Mum. So, I go on, still half holding my breath, is there any chance you'd let me go out with him? He's asked me to go out for a meal. Mum sounds aghast. You want to go out with him after everything? The only thing he's guilty of, Mum, is trying to help a friend. He's nice. He had nothing to do with the drug dealing, nothing at all. Oh, please just meet him and you can judge for yourself. There's a pause. Well, in that case, I'm happy to meet him, she says. I give her another hug. You know, she adds, I think it's time me and your dad went out for a meal too. We haven't been out, just the two of us, for ages. Dad is soon back with Joe and Tallulah and some medicine to sort her out. I hear Mum and Dad later discussing a night to go out together, and actually I'm really glad. It feels really awkward when Carl comes to meet my parents. It's as if he's asking their permission to marry me or something, when we're only going for a bite to eat. Dad gets his teacher hat on and starts asking about how he's doing at school. I sort of cringe on the inside. Mum asks him about his family, and he tells her about his mum. And then the conversation kind of just sort of runs out. So, Has he passed the test? I ask them after he's gone. Well, he does seem like a nice boy, says Mum. I text Carl and he replies with a smiley face emoji, just the one. I get a message from Mads asking if I want to go to the cinema, and I reply saying that I'm going out with Kyle. She phones me instantly. You're going, out with him, she asks. And I'm sure you said you weren't interested in dating. Isn't that what you said when I started seeing Ollie? True, I say. I didn't plan this, but I do actually really like Kyle. Well, he's a lot nicer than Ollie, says Mads. I'll try not to be too jealous. You'll have to tell me all about it, though, on Monday. I feel a buzz of excitement. I will, I promise, I tell her. So, what kind of food do you like? Carl asks me as we sit in the park with Samson running around nearby, his bell jingling gently. Where should we go to eat? I don't mind. I like most things, I tell him. Well, that's not very helpful. Samson gives a gentle snort, or it could be a snore. Well, I know Samson likes the smell of McDonald's, says Carl, but I think we could do better than that. I want to treat you. You don't have to pay for me, I tell him. No, but I want to. Do you like Chinese? I know a really good place. Yes, I do, I tell him, although I'm not very good with chopsticks, to be fair, and duck pancakes are a little bit fiddly. Well, how about we go to Oakington's, he said. They've got all sorts there. I've never been, and I've heard it's really good for food. Oh, yeah, that'd be great, I tell him, though you may have to read me the menu. I don't mind. I'll see you tonight. I'm feeling excited when I set out with Samson to meet Kyle, and I'm enjoying wearing the new top I bought with Mads. Hiya, says Carl as we reach the corner. I like your top. Thanks, I say, awkward. I'm not used to compliments from boys. If there are any compliments going, it's usually towards Samson. We reach the restaurant and Carl holds the door open. I step inside with Samson and wait, hearing the door ping behind me as Kyle comes in too. I've booked, Carl tells someone I can't see. Table for two. You'll have to leave the dog outside, I hear someone say. No dogs in here, sorry. But he's a guide dog, I say. You have to allow guide dogs. He won't be any bother. He'll just sit under the table. I'm sorry. I have to think of the other customers, the man says firmly. This is mad, says Carl. It's against the law, I tell the man. Well, then get a solicitor, he says, sounding as if he couldn't care less. Wait a minute, says Carl. This isn't right. You can't. Come on, I tell him. I don't want to eat here anyway, not with someone like that. Pathetic, says Carl. You're right, let's go. I can't believe it, says Carl when we're back outside. I'm so sorry, Libby. I should have checked that first. You shouldn't need to, I say wearily. He's actually breaking the law. Don't worry, I will report him. Well, where should we go then, he asks. I was really looking forward to that. I feel a tug from Samson. Carl laughs. Do you know what? He's pointing his nose at McDonald's, 2 doors down. It's fine with me, I say. Well, it wasn't exactly what I had in mind, says Carl, but okay. Samson speeds so eagerly towards the doors I have to walk fast to keep up. The noisy chatter inside suggests it is busy. You sit down, I'll order, Carl says, and he guides me and I keep my free arm close to my body to avoid whacking anyone as I pass. I hear comments from children about Samson. Look at that dog! Can I have a dog, Mum? I want one just like that. And I hear someone whisper back, she's blind. The dog shows her the way. Can it talk? The child queries. Is the dog going to order her food for her? I bet the dog can talk. I bet he can say burger and nuggets. You can, can't you, doggy? Carl laughs. It reminds me of Reuben. Well, I hope he's got some help, I say. It was awful how they used him and just pretended to be his friends. Yeah, I hope so too, says Kyle. I saw Tia yesterday. I asked her if they'd heard from Charlie, but they haven't. I hope he's okay. It's weird, I comment. We spent all that time looking for him, and he's still missing. We don't know if he found his dad. He could even still be working for Marty. Carl snorts. Nah, not after everything we went through. Here, what do you want to eat? Now, the good thing here is that I know the menu. I don't have to ask Carl what the options are or get him to tell me what's where on my plate, and it's actually a relief. I order a veggie burger, fries and a Diet Coke. While we eat, Carl talks about a trip the art department are going to Spain. I'm thinking about going, he says. My mum says I can. It's not cheap, but the school can offer a subsidy as mum's on benefits. How about you? Spain, I exclaim. I don't think I'm ready for something like that. Not after everything that's happened. I don't always feel so safe, even here. And in another country, where I don't even speak the language, how would I manage? Everything would be different. And look how I got treated in that restaurant. I've no idea what the attitudes are to guide dogs in other countries, or the laws. Well, they'd drive on the other side of the road for a start, says Carl. But I'd be there. And Samson. We'd had to get him a special pet passport, I think, and I'm sure the school would help to sort out support. Oh, it would be amazing if we could both go. I'm not sure I've got the confidence, I tell him. Something bad could happen. Well, yeah, bad things could happen, but they can happen anywhere, says Carl pointedly. Will you think about it? He asks again as we come out of McDonald's. I feel his hand touch mine and my fingers tingle. I would love it if you could come. I'll think about it, I promise. And I know in my heart that I actually do want to go. Samson comes between us and lays his nose on our hands. I think he wants to come too. It's August. 2 months since Jez has been charged with murder. But it could be another 3 or 4 months until the court case. Marty has gone absent without leave. AWOL. We haven't heard anything about Charlie. I often think about him and wonder, hoping he's okay. I'm still seeing Kyle, and I am going on the Spain trip in October too. Mum and Dad have paid the deposit. I'm going to have some meetings with Jenny, my support worker, and with Gina, my guide dog mobility instructor too, to prepare for it. Mads has her eyes on a new boy called Jamie, and she never stops talking about him. She's told me that if she does go out with him, she's not going to let him walk all over her like Ollie did. I'm out with Samson, down the path near the station, looking for flowers to photograph. I've just zoomed in on a pink flower, but it's withered, past its best. I'm suddenly aware that my name is being called. I turn back the way I've come. Libby! Libby! I've got something for you! It's a girl's voice, but I don't recognise it. Who are you? I ask, feeling embarrassed. Sorry, it's Tia, Charlie's sister. Oh, Tia. Have you heard from Charlie? I ask eagerly. Well, I haven't seen him, she said. But he called and he spoke to Mum. He's found his real dad and he's staying with him up in Birmingham. Oh, I could almost feel like clapping for joy and a warmth goes right through me. I hoped so much that would happen, I tell her. Did he say how it's going? Well, his dad's divorced, living on his own, and he and Charlie apparently have really hit it off, so he says, Tia answers. Mum hopes a change of scene will keep him out of gangs and away from all the drug dealing. He's going to start a new school there too, and my dad's come back home with us. Oh, I do hope Charlie will be okay and sort himself out, I say. Me too, she says. Anyway, he sent this and he asked me to give it to you. She's holding something out and I take it. It's an envelope. He doesn't want me to give it to someone, does he? Not to anyone else, I ask queerly. No, it's nothing like that, she exclaims. I think he just wanted to thank you and to say sorry for getting you and Kyle involved. He never meant to drag you into all of that. Look, I've got to go. Will you be able to read it, or do you want me to read it to you? I tell her that I'll read it when I get home with my magnifier, and then she's gone. I stroke Samson's warm back. He nuzzles against me, and we stand there for a few moments. I hold the envelope, running my finger along the flat, straight edge, and then I just put it in my pocket. Samson and I walk on together down the path. Something bright is waving in the breeze on the grass verge. Stand, Samson, I say. He stops. I move closer, crouching down. It's a wild flower. Something yellow, with glossy petals that shimmer in the sunlight. I take out my camera, lean in, and click. That's the end of the book. So now we know what happened to Charlie, where he went, Kyle, Mads, Joe. Sorted it all out. Hopefully Marty will get what he deserves eventually too. Hope you enjoyed this story.